Subliminal: How Your Unconscious Mind Rules Your Behavior by Leonard Mlodinow. I started reading this book in 2017 when I was on my way to visit LA for the first time. And for whatever reason, I just never fucking finished it. Other stuff came up, but I always told myself I would, and I'm glad I did. There was just the last few chapters of this were really great. They're titled like feeling. The second to last chapter is about feelings. Last chapter is about the self. The whole point of this book reminded me a lot of this other book that I read. I don't know if I finished that one. I think I did. It was called "You Are Not So Smart," and that book was more so about not only why critical thinking is important, but why your brain is always kind of not necessarily an opponent, but it it fucks with you, and you're not necessarily always aware of everything that's going on upstairs. This book is really breaking down like the science of a lot of those things, not just things like confirmation bias or the bystander effect or whatever the hell. It talks like it glosses over a lot of things similar to that, but it really goes more into the like detailed like science, the science of all these things, as well as it brings up a lot of actual experiments that were done to look further into these types of ideas as far as what motivates people's behavior, what motivates them to do certain things, and are we able to get out of our own way is really how I look at it. Are we able to get out of our own way? And the answer is no. Apparently, from what I was reading a lot throughout this book, at least what I got from it personally was that there are so many things that are a driving factor in why you do the things that you do, why I do the things that I do. There are so many things that we are just completely unaware of that that as much as we like to think we have such a grasp on our consciousness, the unconscious is actually what's probably, ruling more than half of our decision making, our impulses, and why we decide to do the things that we decide to do. A lot of the different experiments that they bring up is they would just take multiple different groups of people, present something to them, and whether they were kind of like presenting them lies or things that had some truth to it, they always were trying to get to the center of like, can people be objective in anything? Like, are you able to look at anything objectively outside of yourself, outside of your own perception of it, at least? And it's just not possible. It's just not possible. It's as far as like your surroundings, certain groups that we consider ourselves to be a part of, certain things that we are just surrounded by, are always going to impact how we behave. The beginning of this book, if I remember correctly, the beginning of this book was one of my favorite parts of it too. Is I believe that there was a story where somebody stole something on a ship, and they asked a group of people to like try to determine who they think might have stolen it. And again, I'm going off like literally what I read this almost a decade ago, the beginning of this book at least. But they basically asked a group of people to like, see if they could determine who might have stolen something, or like who was the person that did that. And somebody, just going off of a gut feeling, guessed the correct person, or they made the right decision on who stole something. And that was a real that lured me in immediately, because I was amazed at how I'm always fascinated just by my own impulses and my own gut feeling with a lot of things, and I've legitimately ignored that a lot of the time. But the person that had the gut feeling wasn't aware. I think what he said was that they weren't necessarily even aware of the gut feeling or something like that. It's obviously explained way better in this book. And if you want to know more about like the details of everything that I'm saying, this is the type of book that I didn't, even really like. I want to reread it because I didn't even grasp a lot of what I was reading the first time around. This almost requires a second or third read through to really appreciate what just all the details of it, because I think I was just trying to absorb everything as a whole, that I wasn't, wasn't focused so much on all the little things. Also because I read it in literally like chunks over the course of a decade, that doesn't help with remembering all of the contexts of certain things that he probably brings up later in the book. But this is definitely worth the read. And I remember, I think I honestly just bought this just because of this cover. Look at what it says in the cover. Your unconscious mind, but if you look at the psst, it says psst, I'll just read it. In that like text, there's text next to it. If you could see that, you see how like with the light, you see how it's showing that other text is in the in-betweens. It's very clever. I just thought this was very funny. It says, "Psst, hey there, yes, you sexy, buy this book now. You know you want it." And it also obviously it says it's a national bestseller. So this is a very, if you're into things like just psychology and the science of human behavior, like I am, this is a fantastic read, and I highly recommend it because. Even though a lot of this probably is just him asking questions, and a lot of it is not necessarily like, he does get to definitive points in his through the references that he brings up. He does bring up there are some answers, or there are like there some of the thoughts that he's bringing up, they do have a result, but a lot of the time it is more so like a philosophical thinking kind of book, more so it gets you more so thinking about it yourself, as opposed to giving you any sort of definitive answer on any of it. But there are a lot of there is a lot of countless, like I said, the experiments that all sorts of different scientists and people at universities did, and there are a lot of consistent results within that. However, it's more so you take what he's talking about, and you kind of, though at least this is what I did recently reading it again. I love, this is one of those things that I like being aware of this, and I like applying it however I can to my own life. But it's, but a lot of it is very, a lot of overwhelming, not overwhelming things to think about, but there are a lot of just big ideas that are hard, that are, there's just so much going on in what he's talking about. And having said that, I think it's actually a very easy read. I'm not saying that it's even difficult to read. I just mean it's a lot of like philosophy goes into this, just as much as the like science of the psychology and everything that he's talking about. But I thought it was very good, and I really enjoyed it. I wish I had finished it a while back, but I think this made me want to read more. It made me want to do more. I mean, it'd be great if I could talk about things other than movies and TV shows on this channel. And I might do videos again, talk about my own opinions. I just don't feel like doing that right now. And I unless something is really important to me, I don't really think I want to talk about anything other than the things that I'm the different stories or books or whatever. I'm enjoying just kind of talking about other people's stuff, I suppose, as opposed to giving my my bullshit thoughts on things. But this is a very solid book. I highly recommend it if you're interested in that stuff.